Oh, I have some bad news for you all. Yes, that's right. Federal courts have ruled that your text messages, yes, that's right, your text messages that you send to people that you think are private actually aren't private. But that's okay. There's a way to get around this because if you don't get around it, anything that you send, and again, you may just be joking, you may just be frivolously talking about something, you may be venting, but it can still be used against you unless you do this one little trick. But let me give you the background. Let me tell you what this ruling is, because, guys, this could have some severe ramifications. All right, this is coming out of the Hill, but before I get into this, I do want to answer a couple quick questions. Guys, you got to remember, I just switched to Ubuntu. I've lost everything, okay? I can't get into my Talk Connections account. I can't get into any of my Gmail accounts, okay? So I'm starting all over from scratch. Video quality will improve. I got DaVinci Resolve for Ubuntu, so I have to learn it. Once I get that down, I can get my post-production, better. I'm also going to do an upgrade on Ubuntu, which is going to give me some more options when it comes to the mic. So just bear with me. Give me some time. If you've been following me, you know that I go through these phases where I kind of rebuild the studio and the sound system. So I'm in the process of doing that now. I'm putting out fires. I'm doing the most important things like being able to get a video out to you guys. But anyways, Massachusetts has ruled that text messages can be used against the sender. But there is a way to get around this, and I'm going to talk about this because essentially this whole issue has to do with, and I've talked about this before in my police videos, expectation of privacy. Now, those of you that like to film the police or like to film government officials in public, you know that if you attempt to record somebody when there's an expectation of privacy, like in a private room, and it's only the two of you that are talking, that person has an expectation that the conversation is private. You can't record them, and you can't use that recording against them. Now, if you're in a public place, such as a park, and you're having a private conversation, there's no expectation of privacy at that particular moment, because people could overhear you. Microphones can be, there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. Now, a lot of you are going to say, but when it comes to text messages, I'm sending it directly to somebody, and it's between them and me. No. Here's how the court ruling went. The minute that you send that text message, you've lost that expectation of privacy. So now, this is kind of funny, because it goes back and forth. Police can now look in your particular phone for text messages. But the minute you send it, it's now, there's no expectation of privacy, even though they're looking on your phone. Now, this does apply to, let's say I make a draft of a text message. They can't use that because I never actually sent it. So there's an expectation of privacy towards that draft text message or that draft message that I never sent out. So what happened is we had this guy, his name is Gonzalez, and whether or not he was a coke dealer or not, I don't know, and to tell you the truth, I don't care. I'm very libertarian when it comes to drugs. It's your body, it's your choice, you decide what you're going to do. If you want to use cocaine, as long as you're not having to steal from people, commit crimes, to be able to do your addiction, it's up to you. As long as it doesn't affect your life. You're going to pay for your own decisions. And that'll be in real life. You don't need me or the police to make you pay for your decision. You're probably going to pay for it on your own in lost family, lost job, etc. But that's not the point. Point is, we all have a right to make our mistakes. Because if we don't make our mistakes, how are we going to learn from them? So anyways, it's not neither here or there. He was supposedly involved in a drug deal with 200 grams of cocaine. And he sent a text message. And here's the funny part. The text message that he sent wasn't even to anybody that was under investigation. But let's get back to the matter. the lower court ruled that, yes, text messages were indeed private, or there was an expectation of privacy towards that, and they were able to suppress those text messages. But then it got to the Massachusetts Supreme Court, and they ruled that, again, the minute that it's sent, there's no longer an expectation of privacy. Now, there is precedence. And again, this is important because this sets a precedence for other courts throughout the United States. The precedence that they used is this. If I write a letter and I send it to you, the minute that I send it, the minute that it goes into the Postal Service, there's no longer an expectation of privacy. So that letter can now be used against me in court. So now comes the question. We ask ourselves, how can we protect ourselves? What if I was, and remember, there's a big difference between a letter and text, and I don't think that they took that into consideration. With a letter, often you have time to change your mind and say, well, wait a minute, I don't think I want to send this letter to the President of the United States saying that I'm going to blow up the Capitol and et cetera, and that all of Congress is probably going to go up in a nuclear holocaust because I have nuclear bombs. I think I'm thinking to myself, I may have overreacted, okay? And it's probably not a good idea to send it. There's a little bit of a difference there because with text messages, those go out instantaneously, and they didn't take that into account, and I think that they should have. So now comes the question. We ask ourselves, how in the hell do I protect myself? What if I go off on a rant and a rave, and I'm talking about things that I shouldn't be talking about, and I'm making threats that I shouldn't be making, and I actually have no intention to fulfill, but it's in writing now. And let's say something happens to the person, and you didn't even do it. Well, you got text messages saying that you were going to. Anyways, the way that the government works, the way the police works, protect yourself. There was a time, let's build into this, okay? There was a time when if I wanted to send you messages, such as email, etc., you and I both would have had to have the same program, right? And then that way I can send you a message, or I can send you an email. Nowadays, with the advent of the cell phone, text messaging is so quick and easy, and everybody's so available, and everybody has that ability built in, that you don't need to go with a different program. But perhaps you really do need to. And you know how you do it? You know how you get around this? Encrypted messages. It said at the end of this article, let me get to this right here. Where does it say this? Now remember, the reasoning that they used was that the minute that it's sent, because it's now on the web and it can be captured and it's there forever, that there's no actual reasonable expectation of privacy. So now, this is according to the attorneys, this is according to the Supreme Court, Massachusetts Supreme Court. The statement they made was this: that similar reasoning may not necessarily apply to text message sent through an encrypted messaging service. So long as a defendant could establish a reasonable expectation of privacy based on the use of the encrypted technology employed. So that makes sense. If I encrypt something, that means that I want only the recipient to be able to de-encrypt it, which means that they would have to have a decryption program. So now you guys see the popularity of Telegram, etc. Telegram's a good one. It's a really good application. You can also get lots of information, and you can also encrypt your text messages. Might be something to take a look at. Protect yourself, people. Just take little steps, okay? Little steps. Protect you and myself. Till my next video, guys.